Hi, Giorgio. I am fine. I am so excited to talk to you about this film.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you.
Well, Giorgio, I've got to tell you, it is so refreshing, number one, to see a film that really caters to the AARP crowd, of which I am one, but also one that is so light and bright and breezy, both visually and tonally. And it's just a joy to watch. By the time this film ends, your face is smiling, your heart is smiling. It's just so fun.
Well, I don't know what to say, but such a compliment. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. That was the goal, of course, but I'm very proud of this film, and I love to hear comments like this because it means that we did our job fairly well.
Well, you did it more than fairly well. And I have to say, what really stands out to me is that this is your first comedy. I'm used to seeing your work with Puncture Wounds and The Executioners. I don't expect to see William Shatner being a bit buffoonish and Gene Smart just lighting up the screen with luminescence. So that really strikes me at how well you have moved genres, shall we say.
Well, the truth is that I love to be on set. And so, yes, I did a lot of different films, different kind of movies. Back in Europe, I was more known to do big period TV drama. In the States, I fell into doing action films. But when I say I fell into it, it's just because it was a coincidence. But I actually enjoy doing them, so it's fine. And then I didn't. And then this one, I have to give credit to the producer, Gina Goff, because Gina sent the script to William Shatner, and I was with Gina pitching another project to different companies. And during the lunch break, Bill answered that he wanted to do the film. And Gina didn't have a director, so she asked me, well, would you like to do a comedy with William Shatner? And I've been honest, and I still like the stories that I said, Gina, I would love to do a project with William Shatner and a comedy, but I have to warn you, it's going to be my first one. We European, we're most of the time more on the dark side of things. Mm-hmm. And it has been a blessing. And, since then, I did another film, actually back in Italy, which is my second comedy. So this is not something different. I see this as a progression, and I see this as a new door opening because I had so much fun.
Well, I want to see you go back through this comedy door again. I'm liking it. I'm liking it, Giorgio. I'm curious because you've acted, you've also served as editor on several projects. Do those two disciplines help you when you're directing a film like this?
Well, yes, they do a lot, but I have to warn you. I'm an actor who cannot act. I love to do very small bits in films, but every time I'm in front of the camera, I freeze, and in my head I'm going like, why do I do this? It makes no sense. And that actually helps me a lot because I know that there is this idea and maybe this myth that actors are good directors because they understand actors better. other? Well, I'd say exactly the reverse. I think that I love actors because they bring a new dimension to the role that I would be unable to bring, and maybe things that I didn't even think of. So when I start working with an actor, the first thing that I tell him is like, listen, I love collaboration. So my job as a director is to build the tracks. Inside of those tracks, you can be as free as possible. If by any chance you go a little bit outside the tracks, it's going to be my job to say, good idea, but we'll use it for another movie. I love that. And that's what happened on this film. I mean, obviously, having a cast like this one, it was important for me to build the tracks, but it was also very, very important to make the actors at ease and very free. Because, I mean, they know more than a trick or two, so it was a pleasure.
That's for sure. I mean, I was so tickled to see Kaye Ballard in what became her final performance. And, of course, Ruta Lee. Ruta and I have known each other since 1983. Ron Gilbert and I have been friends for almost 20 years now. So to see these people popping up, in addition to people like Gene and Bill and Christopher Lloyd, and of course Don McManus, who is hilarious.
Fantastic. And you know what I like about this film? I was just thinking about Don, because the basic idea was, of course, that he's a ambulance chaser, that kind of lawyer, and but the character grows up. So at first he's kind of sleazy, but then he's also a little bit desperate. But then he has his full redemption, and that's the great thing about this movie, is that the way the script was written is that every single character finds his redemption. So it's funny that you mentioned those names, because Ruta Lee, the first thing that she told me was like, in Italian, she said, "Sono calabrese," which means I'm from Calabria. And because her real last name was Ballard. So she was so pleased to have someone to talk in Italian to. That was really, really nice. And Ron Gilbert has been one of my best friends since the very first day that I moved in LA, which was back in '94. So, and that's the first time we finally worked together. Ruta Lee, I have a fun story about Ruta Lee, is that Ruta Lee came on set on a day that was, very, very busy, and I was very stressed. I didn't know if we would finish the day. And so I have to be honest, I didn't do my research about Ruta as I should have. And so she came on set and she told me, "Listen, Giorgio, I would love to be in your film, but I don't want to be an extra. I need to have one line or two." And I said, "Okay." And she wrote her own line. And I said, "Okay, well, let's have them doing our own lines, and then let's see if we're going to leave them in the film." So when I was editing, I was not editing, but there was an editor, but when I was watching the film with the editor, I realized who Ruta Lee was, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is fantastic." I wrote her an email apologizing that, I didn't recognize her right away, and I told her how much my mother loves, of course, Seven Brides, and so I wrote her like this long email saying how proud I am that she was in my movie, and she wrote to me the most gracious and funny email ever that I will always cherish, and she's a class act.
Oh, she really is, and she is hilarious. The things that pop out of her mouth.
I can't believe she wrote those lines.
Yeah, and I thought the way she delivered them and the actual words themselves, I was wondering, did Ruta make this up herself? Because it sounds so Ruta.
I would love to spend more time with her. She sounds like a lot of fun.
Oh my God. You know, I've got to ask you about, you have some really nice montages in here. Working with your DP, with Marco, who you've worked with before, and then, I don't know how you scored Colleen Halsey as your editor, but Colleen's work is always fabulous. And to see what you do here with these with some of the montages that you have, and just with the pacing, is so beautifully done, and it really showcases Marco's beautiful cinematography. So I'm curious about that dynamic in putting this film together.
Well, it's difficult to really pinpoint how things happen. Let's say that the great thing about this film is that it was blessed. I mean, it came out well, and I think so. I mean, that's up to the audience to say, but the reactions are enthusiastic. And on the other end is like the collaborations that came together was absolutely fantastic. Yes, I was very excited to work with Colleen because, you know, I mean, she has edited films like Sister Act and Edward Scissorhands, and I mean, and tons of others. She was one of the two with her husband. She edited most of Paul Mazursky's comedies. So that was, you know, I had quite a few things to learn from her. And Marco, you know, it's almost a coincidence that he was another Italian. I was not to, you know, I didn't want to do, this film is a very, very American film. That's the way I see it. So I didn't try to create a group of foreigners trying to do an American film. But Marco and I have been in this country for a really long time. I have no idea if Marco has also the American passport. I believe he does. But I have, you know, I have double nationality, and I feel that way inside of me. And, you know, it's a special feel when you decide to become of another nationality than the one that you were born in. So there is probably more of an effort to integrate into this new culture and maybe to bring something to it. So I'm sorry, I'm digressing now, but Marco was, as always, a pleasure. Now, since then, which makes me a little bit sad, but Marco has retired from being a DP. He told me for health problems, but I don't know exactly what happened. But he did an outstanding job, as usual. But here we had a little bit more time to think about and talk about the visual of the film.
And the visuals are absolutely beautiful. And to have the beauty of the mountains, the desert, you know, the sun, the blue skies of Palm Springs, that's like a cinematographer's dream.
It is. And also as a director dream, because Palm Springs, and that's always my motto, I mean, Palm Springs becomes a character in the film.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Just like the tortoise is really a metaphor for all the character development. You know, they're really slow to get in gear and to embrace their ages and to embrace where they are in the world. They move at the pace of a tortoise. And I love that metaphor that we see unfold in this story.
Thank you. Yes, it is nice. It is nice.
You know, I have to ask you, Giorgio, I'd be remiss not to mention it. Laura Karpman's score, in addition to your needle drops here, is so wonderful. So often you want a score to be more in the background, but here, because you have traveling moments and transition moments, her score becomes very important. And the lilt that she puts in her music kind of matches and at times contrasts the spring in William Shatner's step. And I really love the score that she has written for this film, what were your thoughts as to what you were looking for musically here?
Well, that's a very interesting question. Actually, Laura came up. My original ideas for the score were a little bit different, but Laura came up with this groove that she called herself a little bit Ocean 11 kind of groove that I really didn't think of, and I thought it was fantastic. Once I heard it, I thought it really fit the movie, and it has that kind of, it's very modern, but at the same time, it fits some kind of a 70s, 80s kind of feel.
Mm-hmm.
So it's modern, but it's good for the age range of our characters, of our lead characters, and she did an outstanding job. And Laura was already worked with Gina Goff, the producer, before, and she's such a pro and such a nice person. It was really a pleasure to collaborate. And once again, it's great to have amazing artists that can bring something to the film. Instead of being the director tries to impose his vision, I mean, obviously I have a lot of ideas, but I'm always very open for people to bring elements that fit the project. And here it has been a very uplifting and a very, productive collaboration.
Yeah, and Laura's music, I have to say, the groove that she found is exactly what all of these people would have been listening to in their prime back in the 70s. You feel that with every bit of music and instrumentation. You feel that they are still very young at heart, and I love that and appreciate that. I felt like I was watching me on screen. I still think in the 1970s Barry Manilow mindset. What can I say? So.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I have to tell you, that is the nicest and the biggest compliment that you can give to me, because I always felt, of course this film has very funny moments and one-liners and all this kind of things, but I always felt like the real comedy of this film is that you watch the characters and you go like, oh no, this is so silly, but I probably would have done the same thing if I were in other place,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Without a doubt. As I'm watching Jean's character of Caroline, I kept thinking, yeah, I'd be doing that. So, Giorgio, at the end of the day, before I let you go, I've got to ask, at the end of the day, what is the gift that filmmaking gives you? You've been at this for so long, and your work just gets better and better. So I'm curious, what is the gift that filmmaking gives to you?
Well, the first thing I would say is that I consider myself a film lover that is lucky enough to do films. And so I just love movies, and I love to give emotions. And this time it worked beautifully. So to me personally, the best thing is always the set, because it's the collaboration, it's to meet new people. Filmmaking can be a very lonely process, because you first spend quite some time writing or reading, and that's a lonely process. At the end of it, you have one-on-one collaborations with different kind of people, but it's always one-on-one. You have like the editing, then the music, and then the mixing. The set is really the big circus coming together, and all the collaborations and all the dialogues and all the fun moments and all the appreciation for others people's talent. I'm blessed that I work with so many people with talent, and I was able to manage this wonderful group of people, and that's really, that moment of communion is really what filmmaking gives to me.
Well, I can't thank you enough for making this film. I truly love it. My heart loves it. And I can't wait to see what you bring us next.
Yeah, I can wait either.
Oh, Giorgio, thank you so much. This has been a real delight today.
Oh, thank you so much. It's a real pleasure talking to you.
I can't wait till we do it again.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a good day.